All right, this is the Revolution United Board of Director meeting. Today's date is January 7th, 2016, start of a new year, and it's start of some fantastic new things, endeavors for the organization, hopefully for all you guys. Hopefully you guys had a great Christmas and everything. So let's go around the room right quick and just state your name and your affiliation, if there is any. If you want to state any affiliation, we'll start this way. Turn around.
Sean Crossland, board member.
Ben Trentleman, board member.
Jacqueline Bullis, board member.
Kai Turner, board member.
And David Brooks, chair/CEO. And I lost my tablet. Oh man. Ah, there it is. Yes. Okay, so starting out with opening comments. Let's just go around the room one more time. Just, say anything that you guys want. Like any updates in your life, any updates with the organization. What do you feel? Where are you at?
Happy New Year! I guess updates relevant to stuff, right? Relevant to this would be, I've been thinking a lot about, that article that I sent around and thinking about how to really, really maximize everyone's time who's involved with Revolution United, and how to find a way for us to actually truly help you, right? And how to enable you in a way that, right, utilizes our strengths to make, to be what we can be, right, as a board. So that would be my opinion.
Okay.
I've just been really excited to see everything that's been happening with Rev in the last year. So a lot of big progress, a lot of projects that I know that everyone's been working on for a long time came to fruition, which has been very cool to see, and I'm just excited to see where we go from here. So I've been checked out for a little while, so I'm excited to be here tonight.
I'm the same way. I feel like I like Sean. I'd like to find a way to be more active as a board member. Last year I was studying for an exam, which I'm done with, so I have little more time and stuff. So I'm super excited to get down and dirty and get more involved in projects rather than just the meetings.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, there's definitely some amazing opportunities here for sure.
Well, first of all, I got engaged in November.
Oh, congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. Next thing is I'm on the same wavelength as Sean and others. I want to play to my strengths, and my strengths are definitely process orientation and the back end technical aspects of a nonprofit, which are, bylaws, the grant calendar, things like that. I'm less of the upfront guy, and I'm more of the back end, logical outcome person, strategic planning, 5 years out. And, I think that was one of the reasons why I was asked to join, and I'd like to utilize that in this next year and really put us on a path for success.
Fantastic. And that's definitely a part of this as well. That grant seeking plan part, I would love your help in, overseeing that and, managing the volunteers that we bring on as well to do those sorts of things. Updates from me, a lot going on always, multiple startups. I can't necessarily be the CEO of other businesses because it's a conflict of interest. So I'm okay being a back-end founder and investor in a lot of these little startups. My time here is usually from Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, from 5 p.m. till 11:30 p.m. after my engineering job. I would love to transition from that engineering job into this, which is why I'm dedicating a lot of my time to this next year to acquiring assets and resources for the organization instead of being the front man for running projects and stuff, which gets cumbersome, but I mean that's where the fun is. Sitting down with people, brainstorming, manifesting stuff. And I'm just really impressed just with everybody who's dedicated their time. Like, I'll go over some of the numbers here in a little bit, and it's just really, I'm just really excited about this next year. If you couldn't tell by like my emails and just my overall enthusiasm with, you know, a little bit of the plans that I have rolling out, that we would have rolling out that I'm sharing with you as well here. And of course, I'd like to have at some point during this meeting, I think I left it out actually of the agenda, but I would like to have, yeah, I left it out. But I wanted to, this is going off of what Sean was talking about, and I'd like to add an amendment to the agenda and have to like propose it and then get a vote. But talking about some specific objectives for myself and setting those exact goals in line for me that I can meet them by the next board of director meeting and keep you guys up to date with how that's going, you know, so I can really have something to really strive for rather than like all this airy stuff, like, oh, this project, that project, and I did this and random things, you know. And so I would like to add that in after the break, if possible.
Hey, what's the word?
It is 3, bottom line, one word. So that would be at 7:35, and then just push everything down to another 10 minutes, if possible. So that means our agenda would go to 8:40. So I, David Brooks, would like to move to add the element of objectives for the CEO to the agenda.
Second that? You second that? Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. And at the same time, I should have included the approval of the agenda, which I think is what that was too. Okay, so.
I agree.
Yep.
Second that as well.
Great. All right, so 2015 year-end report. So some basic numbers. I have all the data, and I'll be working with the graphic design team to put together a solid looking, you know, just report that we can get out to the public. 1,300 hours volunteered within the organization. $21,000 raised, and 5 projects completed. So not bad. Less projects than the year before, but I think the projects this year were way bigger and definitely took up a lot of our resources.
How many volunteer hours? 1,300?
1,300 hours. It's about 27, 28 a week.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And so the involvement has been there for sure. And yeah, that's the overall report for 2015.
Nice. Short and sweet.
Yeah. Any other stats that you guys would like to, you know, any sort of updates, any that I could add to the report potentially?
I think that you're probably just gonna kind of get into it once you get into your status of all current projects. Because some of these projects seem like they've rolled over into the next year.
Yeah.
So if we want to get into that is probably more the status report I would want to see.
Okay. Also, we are sitting on $1,300 right now in the account, and that's remaining. Most of that is allocated towards the Utah Eats project. 300 of that is just extra that we are able to mess with and play with. Let's see. Anything else that you guys would like to know other than projects, which we're about to dive into here?
I would just say if you wouldn't mind maybe sending that out to all of us so that we can reflect and get back to you too.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so moving on to projects. we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 projects from last year that have either been finished or are rolling over. And let's see, so Hope lockers right now, they are fully fabricated, ready to go. The only thing that needs to be installed is the placards of the donors and the sponsors, and some of that money, that 300, is going to go towards that. Our budget's totally used up for this project, but I definitely feel like those placards can be made.
How many are there, do you know?
There's 7. And those will be above certain lockers, overall in the lockers. The metal should be relatively cheap to acquire because we have access to the metal. And a lot of the rest of the words and stuff that are supposed to go in the Hope lockers, we can use our sticker printer here and be able to throw those on there like that, saving a lot of our money, like the directions for using it. Yeah, exactly.
Did it wind up with no roof on it?
It did end up with no roof.
Is it gonna be okay?
And that's something that I've been looking into as well. What I'd like to do is, so here is a little 3D diagram of lockers. So relatively like this. And what I would like to do is weld a metal piece that comes here and then comes up somehow. Well, I know exactly how. But make it a little bit different. Make this the part that is the element that makes it artistic. Maybe have them at different heights. Well, we'd have to have them at different heights just to have the water be able to divert off perfectly. And so have one in each corner, and then get one of those, they're like the stretchable awnings that they have over, for example, at the sushi place on State Street. They have those, they're all stretched out.
Oh, yeah, at Sapa?
At Sapa, yeah. Get one of those and just stretch it out across and have that look cool in that sense.
Or did we just not budget right for this, or?
We didn't budget for the actual roof,
Oh, okay.
and the rivets costed a lot of money.
More than what?
Yeah.
Are they usable without a roof? I mean,
Oh, very
because
much
I remember that
so.
we talked about having like them vented and stuff.
They're
They are?
vented in the back,
Okay. So
and
without a roof, they can still get wet.
they're waterproof.
Okay. Oh, okay.
They're waterproof here, and I mean the holes are really small because they're meant for air, and we have a water diverter here, so they don't on the back part.
Oh, all right. So it's not necessarily going to run down and into the hole and block or something damage.
And in fact, what I could do is make another one of those, which is damn near nothing cost-wise, and put it on the top.
A water.
Right. A diverter, so on the bottom, so the water, like let's say someone spills their drink on the top, it can fall in the back, and instead of going to these lockers, it'll get diverted off. So that's why that was initially there, but we can add one to the upper part as well to stop water from getting in there too.
Okay.
And options right now for places are, I am communicating with actually the police department right out here. It's right next to the library. I feel like it's transportable, so that's not going to be an issue. And having their surveillance is going to be something relatively positive, I feel. Building that better engagement between the police and the homeless individuals in the community.
That's a great idea. Have you spoken to them?
I sent them an email. One of the city council members, which is a good friend of ours, is actually downstairs right now, Derek Kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'd like to get a second with him and just talk about what that looks like. Jackie Biskupski, the new mayor, she's a huge proponent for homeless services. And so it's a good thing. and I think they'll find a home. I know they'll find a
They
home.
will eventually.
Yeah.
It's more of a process than we thought it was gonna
Oh,
be.
totally.
For some reason, we just thought everybody would be like, yeah, put it here.
And that's how.
It's not like that.
And that's how it was initially.
Yeah, the library.
The library said that, oh yeah, we would love to have it here, and then we finally finished it, and they're like, right. And it's not necessarily a design factor. It goes in like really well with their design. It was more having the upper officials in the city pretty much renege their offer because political reasons. I'm not exactly sure.
We don't want homeless people hanging out at the library.
Right.
They're never there.
It's
This
not
would at
good.
least give them someplace to put their stuff while
Yeah.
they hung out in the
Yeah,
library.
I'm like, if you go out in the courtyard, there are people that have every one of their possessions hanging out up there. So
Okay. Moving on to Utah Eats. An update on what Utah Eats is doing is the objective for Utah Eats initially, and what our fundraising campaign was for, was to create an all-encompassing food hub where individuals can come with their resources, their food resources, and process their food, help start a business, use this spot for catering, and just have a place where vegetation can have the next stage of its life, food recovery at the same time and disbursement. I'll go into a little bit more about this project when I talk about Revolution United Homebase here after the break. But in the meantime, since we didn't get that major grant from the city, we decided to reel back the project instead of actually creating a solid, like a brick and mortar facility platform for people to come and utilize resources and whatnot. Instead, what we want to do is have an online network where, let's say this farmer over here has beets, they can throw them online, and this restaurant over here is in constant need of beets, and this person over here who has a backyard garden has, lettuce. They can throw all these things onto the website and have it be a network pretty much of food transferring that is healthy, organically grown, and local at the same time. Another element of this site is the merit system for local restaurants. So working out that partnership with restaurants where if they have something that is, so we have 4 categories, and within that, one of them is clean eats. The other one is community. The other one is sustainability. And then the last one is transparency. And if these restaurants, we go in, talk with the owner or whoever the manager is, find out if they're using GMO stuff, find out if they're, using clean water or whatever food-wise. We have the specific criteria, and there's 5 areas. And each time that they actually meet one of the criteria, they get a little beat on the front of their window. Community, if they're engaged in the community, they get beats. If they use sustainable practices, they're getting beats. And then lastly, if they are open about, they're vegan, about where they're getting their food, those sort of things. And so it's like it'd be similar to like a Yelp, but just pretty much an online database for people that are wanting to eat healthy at local restaurants. So.
Is there a demand for this from restaurants? I mean, are there restaurants that would source more locally if they could find local foods? Because I don't know if I grow something in my backyard and I sell it to Copper Onion, I don't know if there's and someone gets sick. That's a factor that isn't. If we're facilitating that, then we're responsible for that factor
Right.
in some ways.
Right. And the objective would be to have this be able to make a certain amount of profit per transaction if there is a financial trade. And one of the things that we would want to do is get certified as a organic farm so that we can extend that organic farm certification to other individuals within the city. So it'd be like bug farms. Have you heard of bug farms at all? Backyard urban garden. And so what it is, it's an organization, and they go around, facilitating backyard gardens and in people's houses. You have this backyard that you're not utilizing. Let's turn it into a garden. And so being able to get all those backyard farms and turn them into legitimate producer would be the route to go.
I think so. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
So from like a legal standpoint, I feel like that's assuming too much organizational liability.
Okay.
Right? Like who is going to take over the oversight of each of those specific gardens?
Right.
Right? Like if you're extending this, you're telling people that you now have the oversight of these, and through your oversight, you know the product that's coming out. Right? So that's an issue.
Yes.
Hey.
Hey, Jim. So we're talking about how, first introduce yourself, frankly. We're recording live as well.
Jim. French.
And we're talking about currently the Utah Eats project, where it's a network of backyard farmers and farms who are able to source their products to local restaurants and other individuals in the community. And Kai brought up the concern that it would be taking on too much organizational liability. So that's where we're at, as you walked in.
I mean, could this be less of a we assume the risk and we are now certifying these and just saying that we are an exchange in which people can post? Like, we're still a very small organization.
Absolutely.
And you have to think about the manpower behind something to this scale. So I love the idea, but is the idea more so of creating the infrastructure for an exchange rather than being the exchange, right?
Yes, definitely being the
So-
platform, creating the platform, and then just letting it go.
So yeah, just being the scaffolding. It's a lot easier to set up a website that has like the capability of being an exchange than it is certifying other people to then they fall under the moniker of this and the name of this, and you are certifying that what you're passing out is good. And within USDA standards, any other standards or liabilities that could happen.
Totally.
Yeah, because I do know that there have been some successful enterprises that have brought backyard vegetables into restaurants and have made that work. And I think that there's even stuff like that happening here in Salt Lake. But I do know also if you have like a certified organic garden, that it's a lot of work to obtain that certification and the maintenance of that. And so if we have that out in several different plots, it would definitely be a lot of oversight just to make sure that everything is falling within those boundaries of what is organic and
Right. Okay. And so I'll direct the project and the team, let them know the concerns of the board, and we'll reel back the overall insight and utilize the funds when we're working with our coder to make it more of a scaffolding rather than us assuming the overall responsibility of all these farms.
Being one that really likes to skirt responsibility, partnering with a group of course, and then you've probably talked about this with a group. Wasatch Community Gardens comes to mind, but their plate is extremely full.
Totally.
But there's Slow Food Utah. There's other groups.
Green River lunchboxes, literally on the other
Green
side of the
River,
wall.
yeah.
I think they'd be a great option.
Yeah,
Totally.
I think that they may be more have more bandwidth to jump into something like this. And there may be other groups too. I mean, it could be a big collaboration.
Right. And that's the plan, especially, I mean, we can spend some time getting insights from these other organizations on what they think should go onto this platform. In fact, that's a good idea. We will do that.
I'm just spitballing here, but would another idea be partnering with Local First and saying this is kind of a project that we do, is like Revolution United Local First Exchange, like where they have the bandwidth, we're covering the creation of the product, right? And we get double billing for it. Like they're pushing it through their marketing machine and their people while we're creating the background and the infrastructure for it.
Okay. Any other organizations that come to mind?
Well, Green and Lunchbox.
Okay.
That would be good. There's a
Slow Food Utah.
Slow Food has a grant, I think that's just come online as well too, that we're going to apply for.
Great.
Is it their mini grant for about, it used to be 500 to 1,000.
I think there's another one that they have that they released.
I know Gwen, she used to be the president over there.
Nice.
I think if we want to, not reinvent the wheel, there's Ample Harvest, which is a national nonprofit that has done this exact same thing, except for to connect produce access to food pantries.
Okay.
Right. And so if they've already done this. It's they have, I don't know how many hundred of, around the country. All the goal of that organization is that every food pantry that can accept produce is on the map, so people can just go
I
on.
think I just read about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ample Harvest.
Yeah. And so if that, thinking about big partnership and repurposing, like
Right.
find a way to say, this is the idea of Ample Harvest is when you grow a cucumber, you eventually have more cucumbers than any one human being can ever eat, right? and like, your neighbors
never
get
had that
tired. Yeah, squash. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
You can, like, your friends get tired of you giving them squashes,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
you can,
They run away.
you go on this website and it says if you Tuesday at First Methodist, they take fresh produce, right? And connecting with those guys and saying, turning that into like a multi-tier, right?
Right.
If you grow, 40 squashes and 10 of them go to eat your family, a couple of them go to your friends, whatever. Where the rest, they go to a food pantry, or you grow 10 of them, and the hope is that 8 of them go to, whatever copper onion or
Yeah.
that would be because they already have the system in place. They already have the website built.
Ample Harvest.
And so you're saying just bring Ample Harvest into Salt Lake City.
They're in Salt Lake City. They're here. It's
Just a platform.
yeah, it's just a platform, right? Yeah, it's already built.
It's like sharing backyards.
Mhm.
For things like that.
Yeah.
So here.
Well, we're sitting on $1,000 for this project, and we need to figure out a direction for it. And that's something that the team should do. But having the board's insights right now are fantastic. So you're saying rather than develop a website, maybe and not develop a code that can be implemented into their website that allows for like the peer trading of vegetables.
Well, that it could be that, but if nothing else, talking to them before jumping into it.
Right.
So the website's slow, but current number of registered food pantries on this website is 7,580.
Cool.
So just I can't get Utah, but I know that there's at least a dozen in Utah, if not more. They came and talked to Slick like 2 years ago, so the guy that started this.
Nice.
He got a bunch of money from Google to get it started.
Nice. And see, that's
I love that because that just creates so much goodwill
it does.
for everybody.
It does. And so now, I still think that there is a niche for peer local trading of vegetables. don't think there's anything fully out there like this yet.
Right near me. I was trying to think of it. And finally got in there. That's exactly what that is.
Do you see that?
And it may not,
Yeah.
yeah, right near me, if you have extra stuff, you put it on, and I signed up for it, so I know it's here. Again, it's a platform, and you can designate by a small geographic area
And then your zip code.
and enter in your zip code.
It's called Right Near Me.
Right near me.
Oh, that's the name of it.
That's it.
At first I thought you were just
Like,
trying to, right near me.
Can't
it's
remember the name of it,
there.
No,
it's right by
no,
me.
that's it.
Uh-huh.
And I think they still exist.
Oh, right,
Mhm.
right near me.
They
This
do.
is a beta.
I'm on it right now, and it is in beta mode. And I've typed in our A4101 area code. And yeah, this is in essence,
I put things on there.
Nice.
this is in essence what we're looking
It's the type of thing you get more people and
right.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm a big fan of not reinventing the wheel. So then the only thing remaining would be the local restaurant element.
Yep.
Now, is that something that we would be up for? Like almost like a local Yelp, almost a local merit system. Or do people even care about that?
I think there's a contingent of people that would care about it. I
Mhm.
think there's a contingent that don't.
Okay.
You have conscientious eaters and you have social eaters. And you have,
I guess,
you know,
just give me the cheapest shit.
I guess I
know
want
a
to
lot
know
of
what the
those
outcome
in
is.
suburban areas.
Like pie in the sky, this sounds great, right?
Right.
But what's the outcome? Like, what's the logic model that leads us to believe that something like this makes sense, right?
Right.
And it's something that you, us, volunteers should put our efforts into,
Right.
right?
Awareness, in essence. So the objective would be to raise awareness in the community regarding healthy foods and where they can obtain it. And secondly, improving the overall health and quality of the people around us. The issue is it's very hard to measure. I'm sure a number of government organizations have the same struggle with measuring how well people are eating. And I guess maybe through sales potentially. And that's something that we could potentially track too. Like if we want to have transparency on there, ask the business how well they're doing. Find out which businesses are, hurting or struggling, and be able to, advertise them.
Well, and again, and I do think it does catch on an area that isn't really being touched on as far as having this niche of that with the emphasis on these things that people may seek out in a restaurant, like knowing that one, we're pushing local enterprises, we're pushing local businesses, and we're telling people like these are people that are not only trying to feed you, but they're investing in the community. So it's kind of, I think it is a cool idea. I think getting the traction is the tricky part though with it,
Right.
giving that value.
Well, that definitely making a website to be like a database of just like restaurants and getting that merit system is much easier, is much cheaper than having to create a platform where users can input their items.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the budget for that, a lot of that would shift to potentially marketing, potentially, paying some people to even go to these restaurants and try and set up meetings and, taking down all the information and inputting it into the system.
Yeah.
In that sense. So,
Yeah, because restaurants that offer locally grown food, they put it out there.
Oh, totally.
It's on their menu.
Mhm.
It's important to them.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a niche of people that would be
And
annoying.
I think that niche is actually growing, and I'm going to use myself as an example of that. And I think it does come down to awareness. So I like this because I think that we grow something that is good for the community and good for our bodies by creating that awareness, by helping facilitate it and stuff.
Totally.
So I think that that's, so yeah, if you're looking at for measurable outcomes and stuff, that's gonna be a little harder, but I think that there is a general shifting toward that in areas that support of your local community, support of your local growers. And the places that are doing that, I mean, really, they do put it out there because they do pride themselves in it.
So this is roughly what the sticker would look like on the front of the restaurants. And they would get little beats in each of the sections based on, so you walk up and you see, yeah. And then we get one in sustainability. Because they use styrofoam.
So I think, and let's see, let's go all
Sure.
but I think what would be cool about this is less of this defined Yelp experience, right? Or this local first, we put a sticker on front of your store.
Less rating.
Less of this and more of an actual barter economy, right? Like we have backyard growers that are growing things, and I grow too many tomatillos every year, but maybe I can trade those tomatillos with someone else, and we're creating this barter economy that we've gotten away from over the years, right? And maybe, you know, if it launches right and it gets to that point, maybe restaurants get into that barter. We bought too many heads of lettuce that are organically grown. We're going to trade that with someone
restaurant
else,
waste.
right? So instead of creating an exchange and rating system, this can be done already.
Right.
This is already done across 2 or 3 platforms. We don't want to recreate the wheel. We're Revolution United. We want to do something awesome, right?
Absolutely.
So why not take the money and create this platform that says you have too many beets by, 10 bushels, right? I have too many of this by this much. I will trade you this much for this much. It is now a barter economy where people are actually trading food for what they need, as opposed to us just allowing them to rate or someone to become a member of something because they have something certifiably organic.
And there was nothing saying that a restaurant couldn't go in and sign up for Right Near Me.
Right. And that's,
I don't think.
and we're back to the beginning one where, it would be in competition with Right Near Me and Ample Us or something.
Ample Harvest.
Ample Harvest.
Mm-hmm.
So something to debate, something to dive into.
Well, and it's definitely a good point if we're meeting a need or if we're creating a need.
Right.
Like when the ratings thing, who's the guy? He's the TV guy that rates businesses. Gephardt.
Oh, yeah.
There's this
Oh yeah, it's
That was
a
a for-profit
big
business.
article,
Yeah.
and so how's money's being exchanged, and these businesses are getting glowing reviews, and you could sort of see that coming, but
I guess I want us to get out of this grand, for me, I want us to get out of this grand vision of how we can make a profit off of something or reinvest into other things. I want us to find 5 things that we care about, that the community cares about, and do it fucking awesome, right? And do it well, right? Whole lockers, great idea. How many lockers do we actually have? Like the number.
34.
34. What if we did 4 more just like that?
Or
Then
if we
we
built
did that awesome.
truck that has showers that can pull over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So the ideas that we have now, they need to become long-term instead of we did this one small project and we did it, right? It should be more of we got this grand idea and we're doing it right for 3 to 5 years, and then we let it go, right? We let it do its thing. Where we are much like, I like to think of us as being a startup incubator, right? But if we jump from idea to idea to idea without fully fulfilling those ideas, we are not doing the idea justice.
Right. Okay.
And that's kind of, I mean, not to necessarily remove the pie in the skies concept, because that's what it is, right? Like that's kind of what it is. Like that's that was your whole thing, right? Take thoughts, make them into action, but having a way that you can justify and define, right? Because we could literally spend 2.5 hours wandering down this local produce conversation, right? Like we absolutely could, and it would be a meaningful discussion, and we could either find something really cool or decide that Ripe Near Me or Ample Harvest is really the way to go, and we just need to partner with them. But that, like, in a way, it comes back to defining what it is we do, right? Like, who is Revolution United and what is the goal? If it's to make a whole bunch of really cool ideas, then we can do that. If it's to make a handful of really good ideas that we can, that actually have results and actually have I don't want to say products, but have something that you can attach to as an accomplishment.
Right.
Like that's a different, that changes the scope of what that looks like, right? Because you can't do this 10 times over with 10 different ideas, right? Like you
gotta go with one and
right.
make it be big.
Or you can do something smaller than this with 5 ideas, or you can do, you can have 40 ideas, but it's like where's that sweet spot of creativity and also action, right?
Yeah.
And people to help.
And people to help, and the ability to actually
Clean Air Fair is a great example.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so that being said, Hope Lockers is the overall objective for Hope Lockers. The next stage, once this gets some traction, once it gets out, media is like, oh, this is fantastic, this is cool, it's finally released. The next step would be the showers. The next step after that would be building a small tiny home, potentially. And then having like an overall village, the overall mission. But if we just want to pump out Hope Lockers just over and over and over again and just, keep sending them out, that could be something too.
That wasn't what I was trying to get at. I just feel like if we have this idea, and if the end goal is to have like a tiny house community for the homeless, then let's, instead of adding on more things that you have to focus on, let's keep focusing on getting towards that phase, right? Because the more times we add on more things, the less time you have to focus on that.
That's absolutely
right.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm getting at is, are we doing this idea justice by adding on 3 more projects?
Right.
I get the grand scheme of this, and that we want the community to come up with these ideas, and then we, in some way, as an organization, as a board, distill those down into actionable things, right? But if we are taking on too much, our capacity is not there to do anything justice. Like, we're hurting the original idea of this, because in my mind, if we want this to grow into like a tiny village of sleepable tiny houses,
See someone working on it every day.
I need you or me or whomever or a volunteer to have their heart in that. And then I bet you, if we removed some of our thoughts and our processes from one of the extra projects that we're adding, that you could find a space where that could live for a month. And then that we can find another space for it to live a month. And then it rotates, right? And then you're getting this buzz around it, right? But to start it, to shift your focus while you're gaining something here is detrimental to not only this idea, but the next idea you're taking on.
Right.
Because at some point, that idea will become this idea.
Just on the tiny, and that's first like heard of this, or maybe I've heard it.
Legacy Village was the name of it.
Yeah. Okay. Legacy Village. Someone did a tiny house hotel, and the great thing about that is that they didn't need special permits because there's no sewer, and you're probably aware of this. And it could move. It could just set up in space that's available.
Yeah. Have a bunch of people with some trucks come to an area.
Right.
You guys are safe for a night.
Without a lot of regulations.
And but it's just.
But I agree.
Yeah.
The concept of what you're saying.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, and I thought the same thing with this. The Hope Blockers, as I understand them, because I was working on them both with Revolution and Legacy as a volunteer for both, was I got involved initially with Legacy Village, and the talk was nobody can take us seriously on this big village if we haven't delivered a smaller project. And the Hope Blockers, I think that's when Legacy hooked up with you for the idea silo, and the Blockers came out of that. It does stall the overall grandness of the project because we're stalled in finding a home for it, you know. And I know that that participation is kind of dwindled off in all areas on that and stuff. So I agree, because there are things that people have moved on to and stuff. I think a concern that I've had, and I'm part of the problem too, because my own schedule got busy last year, was that we lost traction with it. It was going, and we had this killer Indiegogo campaign that I was so proud of and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then things just stalled, I agree, to the detriment of the grand vision even, because you have a project that's there and not quite finished. So are you suggesting that rather than add new projects this year, to concentrate?
So I think that
That sounds like death to me.
Well, I mean, there's definitely some truth to it, in that, you know, being able to get things to gain some traction and to be able to move forward, and really that's really what we want to do, and to really make an impact the way that we want, you know, we have to be able to, you know, and I think that, like, we started with this ideal of, like, the idea silo comes out, we get like this team comes out of that organically that takes on that project themselves. So it's not so much you or the board of director that's like being the driving force behind these things. And that's how we're incubating these projects, is that they take it and they're the driving force, and then eventually they're going to run with it, and then we can cut the cord and they're just doing their thing as a self-sustained entity, you know. But that unfortunately hasn't really been how it's been with a number of the projects, you know.
The issue with the projects and this idea silo, I mean, idea silo is great. We always get really good ideas.
Yeah.
And we get good participation for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so going on into the future, maybe that is something that we focus on, is only for a month we have to have a deliverable, there's a specific deadline, and move on to the next one. If the community wants to keep rolling with it, fantastic. But I mean, that's a huge part of 2016, is being able to pump out these projects and making sure that we have this community back end support.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that the projects that we have on here are, you know, strong and get finished through, and make sure that this has a home. Absolutely. That is absolute number one priority in my book, other than getting our back end stuff accomplished. Project wise, this is definitely up there. So it'll happen. And I don't know, when it comes, we need, this is a totally separate discussion that we need to have when it comes to whether or not we want to apply our resources to other projects. And the volunteers are there. They're all out there. They're it's just one individual or a volunteer coordinator or myself or somebody just outreaching to all of them, be like, hey, be here at this time, and they'll be there. You know, it's not really a block. It's really as a level of it just fading off, as Jackie was saying. Okay, so moving on to other projects. I gotta go super quick now. Sodium Hive. Sodium Hive, in essence, was another platform similar to what you were saying, where individuals could volunteer at other organizations. So we would be creating this website, a platform where, let's say, for example, After School Network has a volunteer opportunity. They post that opportunity onto Sodium Hive. Individuals can be like, oh, that's cool, I want to go do that. And then in exchange, they get a certain amount of points that they can later redeem at local restaurants, local stores, get free food from other organizations, in a sense. And that project, every time it gets going, loses traction, gets going, loses traction. And that's been a long one. So I'd be okay letting that one go completely. Instead of
calling that something else before.
It was progress points.
Progress points, okay, yeah.
It was progress points, and then evolved into Sodium Hive, got a logo, and all those sorts of things. Really cool, actually. But I mean, that one, resource-wise, would be one individual, a website, one, and then one individual contacting all of the nonprofits to put it onto their site. So.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess in my mind, I can think of easier ways to do it, and I think that comes with a level of partnership, right? Like you have a number one resource here with Sean, where you could pilot it, and he has people coming through OrgSync.
Right.
Students can then get points for volunteering to these restaurants, and that's your proof of concept right there.
Yeah.
Where you're not building a whole platform, but you're tying it into something that exists already, that you have a captive audience, because many of these students have to do them anyway.
Totally.
So that in itself would be your proof of concept. You would just need to call the places to redeem them, right? So that in my mind could be something that can be done in 6 months to a year or less, and take less resources than something like that, right? Because all we need to do is prove the concept, right? We need to make sure it works, and then from there, if you have the proof of concept, we can go to United Way and say, you have your volunteer board. We're now assigning points to volunteering hours, right? And from there we go on. I think I fucking love you, man. Like you're a good cat, right? You're a good cat. But I think that if we talk about it, we can bring it down from here and operationalize it, right?
Totally.
And that's why you have a board, is so that we can help you operationalize that. And I know that it's the idea of the community, but you have a wealth of knowledge in this room that you can go back to these people and say, look, the board, they pitched this idea. This is how we can operationalize this and make it happen faster for you.
Totally. And the vision for Sodium Hive, while at the same time building more, or combating apathy and building more civic engagement, would be also to prop up Revolution United as like a community connector of all nonprofit organizations, all businesses, and really, establish ourselves in the community as this really solid resource where people can go to make a difference right away. So that was the vision of it. I'd be all for, like I said, either dropping it for now or, revamping it, however that looks. So I think a follow-up meeting is going to have to happen. And I'd love for it to just sit down with Kai and anyone else about operations and just go through each of these projects and figure out a way to streamline it. Evok Clothing Collective, fantastic, is going really well. They've contributed a ridiculous amount, not a ridiculous amount of money, I'd say like $300 to the organization, and they've yet to run their finances. So once they run their finances and getting them up to par with being able to give a certain percentage of their money to the organization, in fact, they're going to be paying for half of this space that we have here, and Revolution United will be paying the other half. In essence, it'll be me making that donation to Revolution United. So they're pretty much on its own now, running completely in sovereignty and making moves, having events. Their biggest way of making events or making money right now is bringing the screen printer to live events where people can choose which screen they want to make and be able to print their stuff right there live on the spot. Idea Silo. So this is something I haven't necessarily run by the board yet, but KRCL has outreach to us to run Idea Silos live on the radio the last Monday of the month. And what it would be is utilizing a Reddit board where individuals can propose their ideas. Do you guys know about Reddit?
Yeah.
Okay, Reddit?
Vaguely.
So it's pretty much like, it's similar to like a Facebook where you make a post, whatever it is, and it's regarding whatever topics. There's millions of topics. And within there, people can upvote or downvote it. And you don't have to be like friends or anything like that. It's totally open to the public. And so what we would do is advertise, okay, everybody, Salt Lake City, this is, Laura Jones with KRCL, figuring out ways to change local democracy is a high priority right now for all of us with the voting season coming up. But we're still lacking. How do we improve this? If you have an idea, propose it at Reddit or whatever the website will be. It's going to be through Reddit. Propose it online at Reddit. Vote on other ideas, and we'll talk about it live with a panel, the top 5 ideas live on the radio, January 25th. And then out of those 5 projects, we would, bring whoever the volunteers are together and see if it's something one of the volunteers would like to be the project director for. And so my role would transition from being project director of all of these projects to being a leader of the project directors. So like I'm teaching them how to develop projects and run these teams instead of me having to run these teams. Exactly. And so I'm meeting with them once a week, and they're meeting with their team once a week. So they have 2 meetings a week. I mean, it's and like we were saying earlier with bandwidth, this is definitely my concern. Every day I'm in the shower, I'm like, bandwidth, and it's something that I am nervous about. I do have doubts about, and I feel like what it's going to take is really me on the radio, really trying to sell this idea that we can make this happen together. And I think it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot trying to see if we can get a project director for each project each month, and lessening the overall arching span of it to where instead it's like we make that as part of the criteria. It has to be a month-long project, and we release it in this month, whatever it is. And if it's successful, that whole team, they can stick together and just keep rolling with it. And then it spawns up into its own thing.
This would be set up as a month to begin with.
Right. And so think about it, 12 projects for this year, which I'm okay letting go of some of these other ones, as I said. So it's back to that same thing of taking on too much. But if we can make this happen.
Would you consider, rather than monthly, doing it quarterly and making them 3-month projects? I guess it depends on what kind of a project you're talking about,
That's
what kind of project they're talking about. I think it's an awesome idea, just because it takes like what we were originally supposed to see with like the web platform,
right?
With
it is
people,
it's
exactly, and it really eliminates it's like accelerated outreach for it, which is great, and it builds in an already built-in audience for it, hopefully, which sounds really cool. And I'd say the biggest issue is definitely, how much, if you can get those project directors on board, then that's the big piece right there, is how much they're willing to take on, and that they're going to see it through is the big piece. I mean, if that happens, then I think it's feasible.
How often are you going to be on the radio? I don't recall that.
It's every last Monday of the month.
And you're going to have to fundraise for your own time slot through KRCI.
No, I don't have to fundraise for my time slot.
You don't?
That's just on that show. Which show?
Radioactive.
So you're going to be on Radioactive as the last. Okay.
And so that whole hour and a half is dedicated to pretty much consolidating and giving insights to these top 5 projects that are on the Reddit board with these professionals. And let's say, for example, Sean is a professional in bioremediation. We're like, okay, how do we deal with waste? We're running these ideas by Sean, asking questions. What type of impact will this be? Is it feasible? Like really going through the nitty gritty of it as individuals are listening live and upvoting and downvoting during the actual conversation.
I think it's awesome, and I think it has so much potential, but is there, just right now as it sits, is there capacity for 12 more projects this year?
I think it's gonna all depend. I mean, I'm very okay diving into it with guns blazing, and
So I have just a different approach. My approach is to set it up for success, and I wonder if maybe scale. I love the idea, and I think it's brilliant. I'm just wondering if you scaled it back a little bit. Would it have? I mean, what if, I don't know? You're just a bigger visionary than I am, I think. But I'm just thinking like 12 in a year. We have a lot that we didn't accomplish from last year. It's kind of ambitious. And my fear, I guess, would be that if you go in and maybe you just don't get the momentum that you need, does it die off then? Or would it have been better if we tried to do it maybe quarterly and do 4 projects? That gives, and then bump it up if it really takes off. And I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little more conservative.
No, I mean, I guess, right, the other way to put that would be define success, right? If
Right.
success is starting conversations or even elevating
Yeah.
conversations, then
maybe 12 is great.
yeah, maybe 12 is great. But if success is,
Completion.
we have 34 people who live on the streets that now store their stuff on a daily basis
Right.
in a trailer, and that has helped them go to the doctor, get jobs, like
Get
X, Y,
jobs,
right? If that's success, then 12 is like, dude, I mean, I commend you for even like being willing to go down that path, but
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
Yeah.
think about the, not just the time, but like the energy, the resources, right? Like it can't even, and this is not like in no way to bash the Hope Blockers, right? The Hope Blockers are awesome, but like that was an idea that was very well executed, right? And it's not literally like metaphorically wheels on the ground yet, right? And that's a thing, like that's something that I would, I with you err on the side of conservation and be like, we want success to be, remember last year when we did this Kickstarter and you gave us $25 or you gave us $50?
This is what
Like, Tom has been using the Hope Locker for 3 months and has since got part-time employment, has sent, you know what I mean? Like that, like versus, I mean, I fear, like I understand and absolutely appreciate the ambition of like thinking about how cool that reach is and how far that can be of like, boom, bioremediation, like all of the, like
all the 12 sectors.
But if all it is reaching and there's no being able to bring it back and say, this is something that Revolution United did, right? Because it's not about credit. Like I hate the fact that like in some ways you have to have ownership, but that's something that I've been learning the very hard way in higher ed is that like at the end of the day, if you can't say, I did this, like I talked to 15,000 students last year and a whole bunch of them had really awesome experiences and really enjoyed that. But until you can say, 5 of my students are now at the University of Utah in the nursing program. I wrote them letters of recommendation. They are in one of the most competitive nursing programs in the country, right? Like until you can do that, people don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we care, obviously we wouldn't be here, but there's not that like commonality of everyone has to care about that, right?
Maybe that's a disclaimer potentially that I say on the radio each time before the idea is like, listen, like we don't know if this project's gonna succeed. We're not, and it's all based on your guys' participation. Like our bandwidth is more to provide support for a team that wants to come together.
But why, I guess I also err with them on this side of caution of why don't we utilize that same disclaimer and say, we do 2 projects, right? We do 2 idea silos and we don't know if these projects are going to work out, but all we know is we have a belief that it can happen if you help us, right? Like this is the perfect opportunity to brand Revolution United as an incubator, right? Instead of just quick off one-offs, we're here to build it, right? We're here to build the community. And, we all vote on, like every listener votes on 1 to 5 ideas. It's on Reddit. We have 6 months. We talk about the trials and tribulations of doing this, some of our errors, some of our successes. Be a part of this. At the end of the show, you're asking for more help. We need a financial analyst to be a part of this.
So what you're saying, Kai, is have 2 projects, still be on Radioactive every month with updates by the people
More
who
conversations.
Commentary,
more
Yeah.
conversation.
More
That's so
conversation
important.
about the growth of it.
Yeah.
Because you can go from one show to the next show. You could do 1 month, and then we're on the next one, and we have no idea without just doing a quick blur what happened and what were those experiences doing that.
Yeah.
And what did we learn from that? And how do we help to garner
So
some type of
bringing some of those
information. Well,
individuals from that project.
Well, I think you
in.
just hit a big point too. If you go too fast with too much, you don't give yourself an opportunity to learn, to grow, to do the next one better. If you're talking about a month turnaround, you haven't had very much time to really glean from your errors over here to
Mhm.
improve it over here. You're moving through like 3 things before you get over here. And it's like, shit, we learned this over here. I'll apply it here. And you're kind of doing this, you
I
know?
like it. So it's like,
You would be like a traveling salesman, right?
Mhm.
If there were that little, not to say that there would be that little, but if on the surface, as a random listener on the radio, it was, hey, we got this idea, this is what we're doing, cool, we did, and next,
Yeah.
right? There would be no accountability, and there would be no like
Yes.
sincerity of like, we talked about this 3 months ago, and we did more than just talk about it, right? Like we talked about it, and now
Yeah.
this is
Here
this
we
is
are.
what's
This is
happening.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's engaging. I mean, you're on the radio. That's a story you get to tell. You get to make it a story. You know.
So it's like we start with the idea silo.
Mhm.
I like the idea of 4 projects a month. I feel like, we're already have got 5 that we accomplished last year. I think we can easily pull off 4, especially having the back end support of the community. And at the turnover of the 4 months, we do like a huge celebration party and then move on to the next one with another idea silo. It allows for me to focus really on that one project for that 4 months, move on to the next one after the 4 months, and then see how that goes for this year. And then if it's something positive, if it's something that it's like super tremendous input, almost creating like a podcast regarding
Yeah.
the
your
development of
project.
it.
Exactly.
Like the
Well,
whole
that-
project is a podcast.
Yeah, it gives
that we're
people
recording.
time, it gives them an opportunity to get engaged and be
Mhm.
excited. And
Mhm.
that, I think that, like, I really appreciated the updates on the Hope Lockers. And I'm so thankful that Ted is doing that. Hey,
Right.
here we are, it's another week.
I'm
Nothing-
doing them. He
Oh, is
sends
that
them
you?
out.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you for doing them then. And Ted's taking all the credit. But I appreciate that it's there because even just as a donor on the project,
Right.
I want to know. I mean, we fund $1 million project from donations at the Moran, moving around the globe doing surgery. We get those donations because we deliver on everything.
Mhm.
South Sudan decided to have a war. We'd already spent $95,000. We had to think really quickly to take those investors' money and put it somewhere else, and we were able to say, we're so sorry, we know you believed in this, but we have a 5-year project in Guatemala now. So a lot of, since we're based off from donations and stuff, you have to be able to deliver on those. And I guess I would really like to see us I'd really like to be able to take pride in saying, yeah, Revolution United, we get our shit done.
Right. Well,
I don't
damn, I
want to
wish
be
I
like
would.
the great starter of projects.
Yeah.
And then,
That makes me want to change what the first month's subject was, if that's the case.
I think it's something.
what's that?
Yeah, we definitely still can. But the first subject was going to be voter registration and voter turnout, and how to improve that. I mean, it's a cool project, but it's like, it doesn't have that wow. It's not that wow
It's not
factor.
that.
Whatever it is that we create, it's
but-
not going to be like, that's dope.
Yeah, but no, I was
You
just,
know?
I was just thinking about that though, and let's talk to Laura and say, idea silos without a full concept, right, context behind them. Like the Hope Lockers came from an idea silo. It came from an in-person. Like the first session could literally be, this is Revolution United. This is what an idea silo is. Obviously, not every listener is going to listen to that. But then when they tune in next month on the last Monday, and they're like, "What? Who is this dude that's talking about fixing all of the world's problems with fucking Reddit?"
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna go back and they're gonna be like, "Oh, this dude's David Brooks,
Yeah.
and he's this Revolution United, and I heard about those Hope Lockers, and I did, think about, like, you're telling a story, right? Yeah, it's not a like, you don't have to think of the first 8 minutes on the microphone as like, hey, like the first 8 minutes is like, here's me, like, welcome, like, I'm here, this is what we've been doing, and this is why we're on the radio, and what we're gonna do with this time on the radio is take it to the next level, right? And Laura's gonna be totally fine with that, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're crafting this narrative, dude,
Mm-hmm.
and the narrative begins with you.
Yeah.
and you find your most successful project and you say, this is what we do. Now let's start this idea silo.
Okay. What's the the dude that did the Granary District?
Yeah.
Led the charge of the Granary District stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the guy from DC area.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, he could be your first guest, right? You could be like the first story could be, this is Revolution United, this is our mission, this is our, this is our board, this is what we've accomplished. We're working off ideas that other people have used. For example, Granary Row did a similar concept of community input. They call it coffee collages or whatever.
Yeah.
Bring him on and be like, what was that experience like? Like, you got how many 100 people to Granary Row and did, property values have increased. Now the city put an RDA district into the, whatever, homeless row, whatever, great gateway, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
but
storeless.
but that's all, storeless row, exactly. But think about, I would not be stressed about, even in the first couple shows, I
Yeah.
would not be stressed about needing to bring an idea and a product to market. It's foundation, right?
Yeah.
It's because credibility is so much, dude. Like, not like absolute no offense to these guys or Impact Hub or like ideas that save the world and make a buck are literally already a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's now the new,
Yeah.
like that's the new fast food. It really is. It's cool. It's awesome, right? Like, that's a great thing. Like, it's awesome that multiple people are trying to figure out how to contribute. But credibility is now the real.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
And you do have to have a good foundation
Mhm.
to remain credible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
There's just
rank yourself up,
So
man. You
don't
have a lot
stress.
of shit to talk
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be flattering or blow smoke or anything,
Mhm.
but I'm here because of things that I know about you. Give other people the opportunity to hear it and hear the background and have them go,
Mhm.
holy shit.
Mhm.
How come I haven't heard about this before? What can I
Right.
do?
James Alfondre. This guy's name.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. I was like,
There he is.
So are we okay doing 4 idea silos or 4 projects for 2016, starting in February? This first one in January can be like an experiment.
Yeah.
You said 4 months. That would make it 3.
Every 3 months then. 4 every 3 months.
I would say let's think about. And this isn't an answer at all, but think about, very much oversimplified, right? But we have money in my department. We're trying to dish it out to students, right? We're trying to figure out how to do that the right way. We've been doing it for a long time. We've got some new money. We're trying to figure out how to do it in a different way, do a little bit differently. So I would say before launch, before asking for ideas even, is what's our goal? What's our end point? What's our, right? How do we deem it as success? And if it's, right, just like one project a month is a whole bunch because the turnaround time on that is insane. Even if we take 3 or we take 4 projects on, like, what does the proposal look like, if you will, right? And it doesn't need to be like it doesn't need to be World of Academia like proposal that answers
Right.
these 14 questions.
That is something
But-
that you can go online right now, and I think if you type in idea silo with no space and then Revolution United, I think the board will come up on Reddit. It's not like it's public, but we haven't like advertised anybody to go there yet. So on the right hand side of it, there is a criteria for a successful project proposal, and one of the things is what type of measurable outcomes can this project deliver. And for us to say that beforehand and be like, we want to make an impact with this specific number, we're not going to be able to know that. It's going to be based on that project, whatever it is that they're able to do. But I absolutely 100% agree with you that we do need measurable outcomes. That's what's going to be able to bring us real credibility, as you said. Also, at the same time, more grant money. So This is four,
I think
Back-
4 is too many.
four's too many still.
That, I mean, like, no exact, like, if one project, one actionable, accomplishable, this time next year, there is a trailer that's built, that's almost done kind of project, happened in 12 months, like, I think that's reasonable, right? Because the amount of time it takes to get the support and the amount of time, like, the amount of time of building that up, right? Because if you say, on the one hand, obviously there's a million things that need to be done, right?
Mhm.
There's 100 million things, like between this room, we could think of 40 things within the next 4 minutes, right? But if you said, okay, we're not just the organization that takes any like flip of a coin idea and runs with it and turns it into a project, like we need to show support. We need to prove that there is actually follow through that's going to happen with this. Not, hey, this is a great idea. Yes, it sounds awesome. We hit a roadblock and all of a sudden there's now 4 people instead of 12 people that were working on it, right? And that's kind of what's like, obviously when you work with volunteers and when you like that's what happens. But so how do you build up the momentum before you pull the trigger, right? Because that's the, when you talk about credibility and you talk about, you talk about reputation and the identity of the organization, it's that you want people to come to you. You don't want people to come to you and be like, hey, you know what? I think food is awesome. Let's do something food, right? You want people to come to you and be like, dude, I've been thinking about this for 10 years, and I really think that a small aquaponics farm in downtown Salt Lake would do this because it could attach to local restaurants and the surplus could go to food pantries and like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's you're talking about elevation of what it looks like, not, hey, anybody that cares about anything,
Yeah.
come to us.
Mhm.
We're gonna help you launch it. Not that that's not awesome, and not, I mean, there's obviously value in that, but there's value just in the conversation of that, not in the using the resources of like, right? If someone comes and says, I love food, let's do food, and then we work on food for 6 months, and then they're like, I got another job, I'm busy, right?
Mhm.
Not that that's a waste of time, but it kind of is, right?
It totally is, and that's why I like the idea of shorter projects
Mhm.
Yeah.
with a specific deadline, so that people can feel like it's not super encumbering,
Yeah.
but still have like a end in sight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, not to kick a dead horse in the face, but that leads us back to what's the goal of the organization, right?
Mhm.
And is doing short projects that have smaller impact what we want to do, or is it that we want to see a lot of these become sustainable? And I think a part of what we want to do is see these things become sustainable.
Right.
And part of sustainability is not short term, right? It did not take you to get this organization to where it is right now by doing it in a month, nor did it take you to do that in 6 months. I remember talking to you about this organization 5 years ago when I moved here. It took 5 years, and that's what we need to do. I want to, as a board member and a believer in you in this organization, to say, we got a good idea. We stuck to it. It took us 2 years. That project is now its own spin-off of an organization. We spin shit off, right? Like,
Yeah.
we make impact happen. And this clearly goes back to my earlier statement, is that these short projects are flash in the pan, right?
Mhm.
But you're stepping on a platform that is going to instantly change what this organization is as a branded entity.
Right.
And to do 4 is a problem. To do 3, I could probably agree with. To do 2, I'm really into. To do 1, yeah. But if you're doing 2 to 3, I would say do them concurrently, right? Because then you have something to talk about in an hour and a half at the last show of the month,
Exactly.
right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to impart knowledge on how to make a difference in the world to the listeners.
Okay.
And this is a shared journey. This is a shared experience. And if we treat it as such, we'll have more listeners. And this will be something that continues into the future, right? But to do something that is just, okay, idea done, we didn't make it happen, I'm sorry. That sets everyone else after that up for failure, and then that tells the wider, broader community that we are the organization where ideas come to die. Instead of being the organization that, we had one failure, but we had 2 other successes.
Right. Okay, so 3 projects.
And when we have that failure, if we have that failure, we have to be able to say
why it is.
This is why, right? And if it's, well, the person that started it fell off, then we're the people that started. Like, we're the like that's, it comes back to us, right?
The idea of doing them concurrently is really interesting to me.
Concurrently meaning
all at the same time, you're working on all 3 projects simultaneously. Because then you have something to talk about, right?
Half an hour for each one.
Yeah.
So.
And you're talking about what's going on in each of them. You're reporting back to the community. That's what I can get into. But 3 months is not enough time to do anything. In 3 months, I can tell you I have an idea and not do anything about it. And at the end of that 3 months, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
But in a year of following that, I have successes, I have failures, there's something cyclical, I've learned something.
People can come, people can go.
Yeah. People can come, people can go. What we're missing here is that those people that are on the radio dial listening to this are becoming believers in that too. And just as much as we stop and say, well, this person fell off, I guarantee you there's someone that's going to hit that Reddit board and say, I can probably come on and help you.
Yeah.
Totally. And so I like the idea of running all 3 at the same time, but I don't even know if I have the bandwidth for that. Like, I mean, it would be once a month. We would do an idea silo once a month, and then just run with those 3 projects for that time, and then just come back and continuously talk about them for the rest of the year. So it'd be idea silo in February, March, and then April, and then just keep developing those projects and sharing how they're going.
Or you split it.
I like it. It seems easier for me and us to do one where we do 4 months, and then 4 months.
Well, I guess it comes down to this. It's your world, dude. If you want to do that, do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here argue the semantics of it with you. I'm here to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm here to give you thoughts.
Yeah, it's a matter of the scope.
Right. Well, what do you guys think?
I think it depends on what you want out of that time on the radio. If it's going to be just a monthly update on the projects, then I think having the 3 all together definitely gives you something to fill that time. But also, I like the idea of even, here's an update, but then here's somebody awesome from the community who is doing something similar. So we're not only telling you about our projects, but we're telling you about these other people that are impacting the community or something along those lines. Because that's been a big piece of the idea silos. Is not only bringing the people together to share the ideas, but also bringing somebody there to expand their ideas, to inform and to just give them cool ideas. It's all ideas. That's all I can say.
Well, but is it easier, thinking about an idea silo, is it easier to do 3 concurrent idea silos, right? Like, think about hyping people up, finding out what people are interested in, right? Like, that happened. Like, when you start asking about ideas, you're going to get more than one idea from the get-go, right? So if you go, let's talk about ideas, we're going to take this idea, and everyone else has suggested an idea, you're like, yeah. And then 3 months later, you go, let's talk about ideas. The people that put their ideas in the first time are going to be like, whatever, dude, I just gave you an idea, and you didn't take it, So, logistically for management, concurrent sounds like a nightmare, but logistically for initiation, starting them all at once seems like the only way to really do it, right? Because if you, not that, Reddit's a powerful tool. Salt Lake Reddit is, a medium-sized tool, right?
And that's what we'd be doing. We'd be building that platform too.
Mm-hmm.
If I understand right too, part of this has to do with you kind of train the trainer type thing, train the project leader on each of these projects. And what is that? if you do them concurrently, what does that look like for you?
It'd be once a week meeting and corresponding with them about meeting specific.
It doesn't like triple your
objectives.
load, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think what's really bogging me down is having to be the project director for each of these
Right,
projects.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And so, I mean, you know what? Let's go with the concurrent one. Let's do
And really,
let's do one a month.
so one a month, but then you'd have that month to train
You could start.
the manager, and then the next month we'd have another one, and then you'd have that month to train them, and so forth. So
Right.
the one that starts out would have more time.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, see, I would think about like,
I'm just, that's the way I'm
Or you
hearing
like,
it, but-
you give them deadlines. I don't know. For some reason, 9 months on a project sounds like a good time for me. I'm just thinking about the hope blockers and where we all kind of. It seemed like once we hit the 9-month mark was when we all kind of started. I mean, life goes on and
Mhm,
stuff, you know. So if you started the first one and your first one was 9 months, so February to whenever, and then the next one started March to 9 months after that. So they may not all wrap up concurrently, on the same month. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Or if you just run them all for a year, and that first one does.
And I mean, some of them won't be. Some of them could
Yeah,
be
some of-
something short. Who
that's
knows
true.
what's going to be proposed? Be like, for Hillary Duff, or not
Yeah.
Hillary Duff, or Miley Cyrus. It could be whatever. And if the people vote on that and it's something positive and something beneficial, like I'll be the overall determination live on the radio, which is important for me to be there, so I can be like, no, this is not okay to support the KKK's freedom of speech right now, But I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe what else?
Me as a black man, if they want to support KKK's free speech, I mean, I guess, kind of supporting the community.
So I guess we're gonna go idea silo a month, starting out for the 3 months, and then develop those projects as they go. And I mean, the first call out will be for project directors, and ideally we can get multiple project directors on board before, it's like a whole project director training
Mhm.
for a month, where I put together a curriculum, and then each month I'm just running this curriculum.
So Sean had mentioned sort of take the first month and do
Like an experiment.
a big get everybody
Introduction.
excited,
Just the introduction,
and then maybe start the first idea silo the second month.
Okay.
Yeah, at
What-
least, at least that first one to, this is who you are.
So advertising.
Yeah.
Right.
Why they should even be
Motivation.
invested in this
Right.
at all. I mean,
Right.
it's like, is there somebody I'm like, I got a Friday, I guess I'll go on the radio and
Right.
see if I can get some volunteers to do some stuff.
well, and if you're talking about a curriculum and you're talking about that scriptive of a training, then what if you do 3 idea silos, and at the end of those 3 ideas, so introduction, 2 months of the idea silos are talking about stuff, and that's maybe 12 people that come on. That gives you 2 months or 3 months to find actual program directors, and whether or not they all end at the same time, all the projects start at the same time, right?
Okay.
So month 4 is, all right, we've got project director Joe, and we've got project director Susie, and Joe's doing this, Susie's doing this, da 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 da. Like this
Tell
is
us
what
your experience.
this is what Revolution United is, right? This is what we're doing. They have these ideas. We're gonna make them happen, and then the training is all at the same time. You meet with them once a week, and it's first week is let's set goals. What are we gonna accomplish? Da 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 da. Right, and then the next month is, Susie's back on, and Susie, what have you done? Right, Joe, what have you done? Right, and then that would both, if you find the right people, that would both, in a way, apply the pressure for them to have, okay, a month from now, I better go say I did something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go back on the radio and be like, you know what I did? I went to Tijuana and,
Okay,
I
so-
went snowboarding,
So
right?
you're
Accountability.
saying
I like
saying
it.
the individual who proposes the project, they would be the project director.
Yeah, I mean, to propose a project, you have to say, yeah, I'm willing to commit 5 hours a week for the next 9 months to do this project,
Okay.
right? And if that means that part of what Revolution United does is find a stipend or something, I don't know, that's a whole different conversation, but, right, like, don't, we can all tell you what's wrong with the world, right? Like, everybody can be like, this air sucks. Like, I drove my truck here, so I'm an asshole, but, like, you know what I mean? But the air sucks.
Your giant tires make your gas.
And I can tell you, I get like 15 miles to the gallon. But I can tell you all kinds of ways to make the air better, right? Like, I'm an asshole, I'm still driving my truck, right? Like, so don't tell it, like, ideas are a dime a dozen, right? Like, who's willing to actually do something about it?
Okay.
I
Right.
like the idea of having them on once a month too, because
Mhm.
there is that element of accountability right
Yeah.
there. And they're gonna be accountable and they're gonna hold their people accountable because I like it. It's the
Mhm.
one
You
thing that a
could
lot
be
of
like
volunteering
Donald Trump and
misses.
say, if they don't do it,
Fire.
you're fired.
You're out. Do it on the
You
radio,
do it right
man.
on the
Turn it
radio,
into
yeah.
a game show. That's your
Ooh.
yeah, right.
Joe, man, you've been slacking. Like, I know you. I like it. I think that's the
You
route.
got nothing to say? What?
I think
It's been a
that's.
month.
I think that's the route we go.
I like it.
And I mean, I've actually had a couple conversations relative to the college about some people in the community interested in funding community organizing type projects, and that could be pretty perfect. Like,
Okay.
say, I mean,
Funding, they wanna fund something?
Just like the civil leadership, right?
Mhm.
I dig it.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, I don't know, I've talked to people that know the people that do that stuff. I don't, that's how development works.
Yeah.
Kind of is about that stuff.
Oh. Perfect. So I think that's a fantastic route to go. I like the idea of whoever it is who proposes the project leads it.
Mhm.
They take it on.
It's
Makes
their
sense.
passion. It's
Yeah,
their heart.
it was their idea.
Mhm.
Yep, you're gonna help them do that. You're gonna help facilitate them in their leadership.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, moving on. Clean Air Fair. We're still in the project phase. We're so far behind schedule. Like the meeting's almost over right now. And that's okay, because really this is, and the other elements, it's just quick stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So Clean Air Fair, it went fantastic this last time. We raised, I believe, close to $7,000.
Nice.
With that money, we're able to acquire some new assets as well, such as a PA system, a projector screen. What else, Jim?
Well, we had food.
We had everyone
Really-
got
really
to
good
eat.
food.
Yeah.
Right,
When they
twice.
came. Nice.
Mhm.
Had the kids' obstacle course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Right.
cool.
Outside.
Mm-hmm.
I think really nice mix of groups were there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
group speakers. It was well run and the crazy thing about it, there's only 4 of us who were actually on that project. Far lower numbers than last year. It was just really hard getting people to stay engaged with it,
Mhm. Or get engaged.
or get engaged, exactly. And so overall great event, fantastic effort by the team.
It worked out well in the school too. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so what I'd like to do is expand this project. I mean, just quick about, this is my overall vision for what the next step of the project is. We keep it Clean Air Fair, but everyone's doing Clean Air Fairs now. There's Salt Lake County is trying to do their own internal Clean Air Fair. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the official name is not Clean Air Fair.
Right,
It's
right.
a long thing.
And I mean, it's cool too. It's the fact that, they're educating the community. That's what the objective was.
Yeah.
That's what the initial idea silo was. And then we've been doing it. This is the 3rd one now. And it's been successful. It's a model that works. So we can keep using the Clean Air Fair model and keep it going, or we can amp it up to somewhat of like a conference. And we're thinking, or I was thinking, something like the North American Sustainability Conference, or a Sustainable Progress Conference. And for us to actually manifest this, we would have to start getting volunteers now, which the radio would be a good thing.
Yeah.
I hear conference. I'm not there.
Okay.
Sitting in a chair listening to panels or groups of people
Right.
talk. That's.
Yeah. And so what the vision would have been.
I mean, that's just my. I don't.
Yeah. And so the vision would be getting these innovative thinkers in sustainability in all 15 sectors, similar to how Revolution United rolls, getting them to, share their innovative stories, share their struggles, share their successes, similar to like a TED Talk. I mean, we hosted TED Talk. It's not a thing. Doing that same style, not a problem for me, capacity wise, experience wise either, and really targeting the local leaders in each of the communities. So, for example, we get the person who is in charge of, sustainable development in Toronto City to come out to the actual conference. So it's actually getting local civic leaders, like politicians. They're not politicians though. They're
Just leaders,
yeah,
community leaders.
but actually paid to be community leaders. Getting them to come out and giving them resources on how to create changes in their specific communities. So they come here, get all their knowledge, go back, and literally implement that into the like legal workings of the city, ideally. But
I mean, I guess I would challenge if it was harder to get volunteers and harder to get people committed to doing it this time. That's the question to ask and the question to address before.
Yeah.
Right? Because I thought I thought the content, the folks that were there was really impressive. Like it was a good turnout of diverse groups of, there were some, well, it was a good range of stuff. But if we had trouble more with commitment from people to follow through and make that happen, and turnout, then those are the two. Like I would ask about that before thinking about, right, like reaching further and making bigger. Because if we call it the North American Summit for Sustainability and we bring in, the
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk and all these people, and 95 people show up because we had 4 people that were willing to help run it, and then that's another, that's another kind of failure, right? Like, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if, in some ways, that's the systemic, right? Like the commitment, the volunteer commitment piece, right? Like ideas are, like, and it's a great idea, but the commitment piece, like what do we do to promote, encourage, and still garner commitment from people that are going to be doing these things, right? How do we support people to do these things? Because again, like it comes back to capacity, right? Like you could by yourself in a year do the clean air fair, right? Not the clean air fair and hole blockers and this and that and the other, right? Like it's just not, like you can't do it, right? And go on the radio and start these new ideas, right? So thinking about scaling capacity in a way that is feasible.
We would have to make sure that we have volunteer commitment on such a bigger level, and getting that beforehand and knowing that we're gonna have that. There's no way I can guarantee that.
And this is a reinventing the wheel thing. Like, does this exist already?
Not in North America.
Well, I know a bunch of people at DAQ. I write all of their contracts for IT. I'll talk to them, and I'll talk to Joe and see if there's something like this that people go to, because we don't want to jump the gun and duplicate the wheel, because then we end up with 95 people at something and not anyone credible to show up and do it, because they already did it in Toronto or they did it in LA. And this is something that has been done, right? It may not be called the North American, right? But it's something that these minds in sustainable air quality go to and have these conferences and conversations happen.
Yeah,
And
what is the name of that?
The difference in it, though.
Event. There is an event that does it, and they used to show it. It'll come to me.
The difference, though, the focus of this one would be the integral elements and working in the transdisciplinary sectors into the solution. So, like, not siloing each of the ideas, but instead, being a conference on, transdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. But okay, table that for now. Indie Underground, going fantastic. We have our next one coming up January 30th. It'll be here, actually. Downstairs music, upstairs food, $15 prepaid for people to come in, private event. And the mission was to have this Indie Underground fund be part of the funding for whatever project is voted at the idea silo. And so the team behind Indie Underground, it's like cookie cutter, artist, put it all together. It's me and Rebecca May who runs Wasatch Wordsmiths, and there's poets and stuff as well. So that's going on January 30th. Also, starting in November, we've been doing a monthly collaboration with like a local restaurant or a local bar. And so far it's been doing pretty well. We raise about $100 to $150 depending on the situation. So we did Zest, or not Zest first, we did Twist, then we did
on the west side.
Sages, and then we're about to do Zest on the 8th, this Friday, actually.
Do they have to tell them that, but do they have to like tell their server, or is it just X% of everybody that's in the restaurant?
For this Friday, it's X% of everybody in the
Okay, so
restaurant.
people don't have to come in and say, "Oh, I'm
here for this thing."
Yeah, I'm here for Revolution United. Okay,
A
awesome.
rebate night.
Yeah.
And so it's super easy, doesn't take much work,
Yeah.
one graphic designer putting together a Facebook event invite. So that's going on this Friday, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. And then lastly is the Epic Human Progress Tour, which is a project we had.
We were supposed to be there doing it now.
Right, and this is in the past. But
January.
just my personal finances ended up going towards a lot of other things. And the motorhome is purchased already, so we have a motorhome. And I was thinking, instead of actually going out and creating, trying to do Revolution United, Idea Silos, boom, in each city, kind of like what we're trying to do on the radio now, instead of doing that, get the motorhome up and running, get in it, because it does run, it runs fantastically, it has a lot of space. And instead of going out to other places, really bring this motorhome into the community here and create public spaces around that motorhome. So like we go to a parking lot downtown somewhere and just have like a gathering. We can easily run a PA system because we have one now, and have an artist perform from a certain time period, put together a Facebook event where we're going to be here, come and hang out, listen to a poet on your way to the bar, and everyone driving by is like, what the hell is that? Because it's got 4 different murals on each side from different artists. So it super stands out and is somewhat of like an element of like Burning Man brought to the local scene without the breast and ridiculous amounts of alcohol.
And drugs.
Drugs,
And
yeah.
What's the point of
I've
Burning
never
Man?
been there.
Why would I want to go to that? Sounds awful.
And so a lot of that,
It really does.
a lot of that is
I
my
wanna
is my own finances to get that motorhome looking like super proper
Yeah.
and whatnot. And right now it's almost there. I'd say probably another few weekends of work, and then it'll be like we need to come up with a name for what we call it, the Revolution United bus or whatever.
It's pretty catchy, man.
The Rev.
The rub?
The Rev Mobile.
Revolution.
The Rub Bus. The Rub Bus.
We can have a few massage therapists.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the wrong impression. Whole different
Come
revolution.
hang out at the Rub Bus.
Yeah.
It's a camper parked under the bridge.
It'll be driving over
The
the mountains.
It's all right. No, that's how you get people to volunteer. You trick them. They like come up, you like step into the red bus, you sign right here, and they go inside, and it's like, hi, you've been volunteering for a year.
Come in the rub bus.
L'Oreal can put on some great outfit.
Yeah, she totally could. She totally. And so
I kind of like
On her
the
horse.
I kind of like the rub too.
No matter what, that's what I'm gonna call it.
nice. And so
From henceforth.
All in favor?
It's official.
and for me that'd be a fun activity, like maybe 2 Saturdays out of the month. Just go out and I don't know, we need to look into whether or not we can have wine on it. I know that you have to have the cockpit sealed off, and you can't have people in the actual driver's seat. But
That's a nightmare. Like, to do a special alcohol permit in a public space
On a movable.
on a mobile,
Right.
you would have to quarantine the area. And
But you'd have to have insurance and a bunch
Yeah,
of other
yeah.
stuff.
And then you're putting in a $900 deposit to the city to do it.
I mean, don't get me
To
wrong,
get a local
like,
license.
I'm not trying to be a buzzkill. Like the rub bus, like
You'd
you
have
know,
The red bus
Like,
needs
I
the
sounds
booze.
like
Sure,
fantastic.
man.
Yeah, like it needs the booze. You know,
stop it for a drink
Yeah.
before you go out.
But when you start charging admission to
No admission. They just get to come in.
But,
You gotta check IDs.
the thing that is nice about it though is that you could take it where that is. So I mean, if you take that to we just talking about it over
Sages.
some, or take it to one of your events, take it down where park it outside of Bar X,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and you know, you could still, then people are drinking and then they can still come in and check it out, you
That's
know,
a really
and you
good
can
idea.
still do the other stuff, and
That's
you can,
a really good idea.
you know, wherever they're doing like a big food truck thing, you could be there too, you know, and there's, you're mobile, you could be where the booze is.
You have
Yeah.
a lot of events
Mhm.
Yeah.
in one
Yeah.
place.
Yeah,
where
let
people
somebody
to
else have a
come
liability.
to you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Totally.
And this would be so
Mhm.
Revolution
I think it's got a
United
name.
B. What's the B?
Bus.
Bus.
Bus. Revolution United Bus.
Big bus.
Mobile, big bus.
Rub
The
bus.
big
You can't say rub bus if
Rub
it's Revolution
bus.
United Bus.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
the
It'd be a
Rubmobile.
bus.
Revolution
Yeah.
United
Yeah, the bus. I like
We'll just call it the
Bus.
There you go.
The rub wagon?
The rub. Or just call it the big rub.
Yeah.
Slow
I
You kind of want to be sensitive, right? You don't want a fast rub because
No.
it shakes.
The community rub.
So it could go on for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. I just noticed it take 30.
Yes. So moving forward quickly through everything else, Revolution United Homebase. Lorel and I are looking to buy a house on the west side that has a 3,700 square foot garage with agricultural zoning. So it's about 0.6 acres. And
Wow.
that, if that's what we're shooting for, the owner convincing him to sell it, he's almost there. And if we can make that happen, that would be a solid spot to do.
How far west?
It's 2,400 south and 1,300 west.
Oh, okay.
5 minutes to get to downtown from the house.
I had visions of Magna or something.
No.
Big long ass ride.
And so if we can manifest that, that'd be an amazing home base. We could have our events there. We could have, you know, a small community garden, small, you know, community healing center for horses and stuff. The rub bus
I
to
was
be
gonna say,
started.
Yeah, man.
Park the rub bus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big rub.
So I'll keep you guys posted on the development of that. Grant seeking plan, I have started the grant seeking plan. I have over 150 different potential grants out there.
Wow.
And really just leveling them in and figuring out the ones that have our best potential and putting together that grant seeking plan. I'll have that done within this next month and start seeking grants, putting a team together so the objective would be, I would write the initial grants, and then from there, we can have other individuals, you know, modify, edit, cut and paste certain things to send them to different organizations so that we're not, you know, having each volunteer write an entire grant out, which would be hell for me to help oversee, unless they're like, awesome, there's a few people out there that could probably do it. 2016 marketing plan. We talked about KRCL already, which is fantastic. One thing that I'm going to be doing myself individually to help market for Revolution United is I have these little like papers. They're probably like 4 by 6 inches, and I want to do positive messages on them. And so instead of actually having the positive messages written out, it's images. So you have to like it's like the Mickey's caps.
Mhm.
We have to figure out what it's trying to say. And so doing that with the positive message and just leaving it at a bunch of different places and leaving a little stamp, 3D printing a little stamp that I can do right here onto it as well. So people pick it up and like, what the hell is this? And then their whole table is interacting with trying to figure out what the actual answer is. And then there's the logo at the bottom where they be like, what the hell is that
So
again?
they can, it just gives them, yeah. So they'll go Google it.
And I'd like to put together an overall marketing plan that's much more strategic than that, such as, you know, putting out the yard signs that we made for the Clean Air Fair. I think that was a fantastic investment, which we still have. Did any of you guys see those driving around?
I didn't see them.
No?
I live in Murray, man. I'm good. I'm on there.
Oh, man.
I saw him around.
Nice.
I work in that area, so
Where were they?
Oh,
Just,
yeah, just around downtown.
anyone
it
that
probably
came?
wasn't downtown. They didn't have one where I live, Eastern Coast.
Okay,
It's a lot of ground to cover.
moving on. No, we want to get out of here. Website completion, go take a look at it right now. It's live, revolutionunited.org. Well, not 100% live.
Yeah,
It's still-
I've been looking at it, I've been watching it and stuff.
Nice.
It looks great.
Good.
As soon as we get those projects up there,
Yeah.
it'll be really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Like insert project here.
And so the mission definitely is to have the website 100% once we launch this KRCO thing. There's no ifs,
Okay.
ands, or buts about it. Like we
So
have to have.
those blanks will get filled in.
Oh, for sure,
Okay.
for sure. If with the projects that we've already completed.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it looks awesome, man.
yeah.
Bylaw review, definitely no time to do that. But I'd like to sit down with Kai potentially as well in the upcoming weeks so we can re-establish and make sure that our bylaws are in 100% accordance with what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Okay.
If you can just send me a version, I'll redline everything.
Okay.
I'll do the work.
Will do.
Who's not working?
Okay, so lastly, 4 objectives for me to have by our next meeting, which is 2 months from now. And then I'll send out a doodle as soon as possible so we can get that ready to go. So, some objectives that you guys want to see in 2 months. Measurable.
Oh, a decision on the Clean Air Fair or not
Okay.
Clean Air Fair. It's just Black Diamond, if they're going to be involved in this in a big way, then we need to get on board. They make their decisions in January,
Okay,
as far as a sponsor.
so then that's got to be within the next week,
Well,
in
Yeah.
essence. I say, you know what? Let's just do Utah Clean Air Fair again next year, especially since we're going to be dedicating a lot of our resources to these new projects that we don't even know what they're going to be yet. Some,
Might be good tonight.
yeah, let's keep it at
Have
Utah
some
Clean Air
kind of
Fair.
try to
I mean, you might as well just assume that that's a program now instead of a project.
Yeah.
It's a part of the organization. It's not, it's no longer something you can potentially just drop out of nowhere, right? That's one of the things it's known for, or we're known for. As
Mhm.
a-
keep it the first Saturday in
Yeah.
December.
Totally.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
just something that
contact me.
happens.
Okay,
Yeah,
You can
Fantastic.
plan
Thank you.
it, clock by.
first Saturday of December. Okay, any other legitimate objectives?
I mean,
So,
no objective.
I will have-
But
What I'll have for you guys is the grant seeking plan.
Mhm.
Grant seeking plan, the marketing plan. Would you want to see a curriculum on how I would be running like a project director?
I would love to see it, just my own, even if we don't want to do it here, I'd love to see it. Just my own thought.
Up here too, we need to have, what's the last one on there then?
What were we gonna add to this that we probably didn't?
It's this right here. This is the final part.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I mean, those are all absolute, but I would say a systematic way of keeping the board current and up to date on what's going on.
Great. That's something I actually
Mhm.
forgot
Yeah.
that I wanted to talk about. Every week, I would love to do like a little like live update to the public and just post that in the Revolution United group on Facebook. So like, hey everybody, this is what we got going on. We need this volunteer. Make sure you turn in on this. Shout out to Sean this week for doing positive things in the community.
Good job, sir.
He's giving really good rubs out there, and people are really benefiting. Getting a lot of feedback.
We're all about the community.
And doing like
Community rubs are a big deal.
a little 5-minute video each week with some specific things that I could highlight and send out to you guys. What it would be before I do it. And I just needed, what day do you think would be efficient for that? And are you guys all part of the Revolution United Facebook group?
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is there,
And why didn't there's just one, is it just a page?
not that there's a need for, I mean, I like the idea of that in terms of transparency, but is there strategy behind sharing with us something that isn't outward facing information?
Right.
Like, is there trials, struggles, tribulations, right? Like that kind of stuff. Where can we help? You can put that on Facebook.
But is that everything you want to be public?
But is that
information
everything that
right
must
off
be
the bat?
public? And does that make you,
Dude, I
don't
feel
see why not.
worthless. I feel worthless. Like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, I show up. Like, I know I don't show up to like the other things, but like, are you utilizing the assets in front of you in a way that is catapulting this organization to success, right? Like, everyone here has a specific thing that they're very good at, right? And I feel like that's why you want us to be around, but I don't know that you're necessarily engaging each and every one of us in that way that helps you. Like, we're here for top level governance, right?
Right.
We're here for these big things, right? And I don't necessarily want to get into the weeds with you about these things, but I want to make sure that we set up some sort of framework for you to be successful, right? So my thing is the law, grants, strategic planning, stuff like that. Sean's things are almost quite similar. His background is going to be some volunteerism, right? And that I don't know what everyone else has as something that they do, right? And they do it effectively.
Mhm.
But what I want to see is us build a very strategic, forward-facing plan that utilizes what you have in front of you.
Okay.
And I kind of want you to asset map that in a way that you say, this is what we're missing from the board.
Mhm.
This is what I need to add to be an effective leader,
Okay.
right? And in that, and I'm not trying to be the D-bag of the meeting,
Mhm.
but like, that's what a successful organization is, and that's what successful leadership is made up of, is seeing what you have in front of you and utilizing that talent in such a way that it manifests your goals, right? Like, we're each gonna have different ideas and understandings of what this organization means to us. We're gonna internalize it differently, and then we're gonna give you thoughts in a different format, right? Than maybe you agree with.
Yep.
But your role as the founder, as a CEO, as the board chair, which is to utilize that and focus those energies in a way that's productive. Right? And right now, it seems like we are just a cohort of people that you bounce the ideas off of once a quarter, right? When you can easily email me and say, Kai, I have a few bylaw questions. Like, how does this
Mhm.
feel to you, right? Sean, how do I engage volunteers better, right? Jim, this is what I want to do with this clean air fair. What are your thoughts? Can you reach out to that community, right?
Totally. And I think I've been engaged with Sean a lot. I've been engaged with Ben a good amount. Jim, ridiculous amounts regarding this project though too. Jackie not as much, and you not as much. But by all means, I would love to sit down and do like an asset map of the entire board, figure out ways to make this happen. Like, let's set up a secondary meeting where we can sit down. Like, I'm here 5 until 11 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. If any of those days work, let's make it happen.
then yeah, let's just create a matrix and see what we're missing. Because I feel like in being in the role that you've been in and having been stressed out by having a board that wasn't effective
Right.
and couldn't figure out how to be effective, I want you to learn from my mistake of not growing that.
Okay.
Right, and growing it in a manner that would help, right? And to that, maybe, and this is just an idea out there, but maybe we add more board members and your role becomes less of a board chair and more of the executive director.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and then, your role is something that is ex officio, in that you have less of a voting right, and you have more of I'm running these programs day to day. I'm on the floor. I'm front lines.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. I'm gonna let the board figure out the very high level things, because that in itself is gonna give you more time.
Totally. I'm all about it.
So that's just an idea out there for you.
I love the idea.
Well, and this is the most vested that the board is that I've ever seen. Right. The fact that the four of us have been here, and I wasn't here when you were here before, but that's something you can build off of. I think that this is the most consistent that it's been, and it's the most that people have been willing to do work.
Yeah.
While you've had people on the board too, and I think that's definitely something to run with, because before it's like we've had a ton of people on the board before. We had a ton of people that
Right.
showed up and ate the food and didn't show up the next time or whatever, and so I think that this definitely is a strong foundation right now,
Yeah, I mean, that really drastically changes the scope, right? In a lot of ways, that's like the sending your kid off to college thing, right? Like, because you don't necessarily have full ownership over everything, right? But you, in a lot of ways, have more focus and more support, right? It's about so then when we have to meet and talk about we need to approve these bylaws, right? Like, we can do that. It doesn't, we literally don't have to use your time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's this is a thing, like, we understand the essence of what Revolution United should be, and we can sit down for 2 hours and argue about one paragraph within the bylaws and how we think that best fits, right? Thinking about, because that's and that's kind of the article that I sent around, right? Is the difference of the board being the governance and the overarching structure, and allowing you, the executive director, to be the person that says, I'm gonna make bolts that go like this over I'm gonna move the gutters on this thing, and you just come back and be like, you know what I did? I moved the gutters on this thing, right? I moved the gutters on this thing, right? Because that's my job, right? My job is to do this, right? And I think I think it would absolutely free up your time to be more operational and less, in some ways,
It takes it
philosophical,
to
right?
another level.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Absolutely.
and on the other board that I sit on, that's kind of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So Kai, Sean, anyone else who'd like to sit down on forming that and revamping the back end of the organization, by all means, I'll shoot out an email after this as well to see what time works for us. So there'll be 2 doodles coming out. One for if you want to be engaged for sitting down and reforming what the board looks like, and the second one for the next meeting, and that'll be with the board.
Okay.
Nice.
David, move to adjourn the meeting. Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Adjourn.
I mean, does anyone say nay to ending the meeting? Should
No.
No.
We are not leaving until all this food is gone, right?
So is this the Revolution United space here?
Yep. Not this room specifically. There's a dark corner over there. That's their corner.
Okay.
But
Dark corner labeled the rub corner.
The community rub corner.
The community rub corner is the.
contract back to Murray.
All right. It was nice to meet you,
It
man.
was nice to meet you as
We're
well.
on back home too. You brought up some really great things. Thank you for being helpful.
I don't want to feel like
Being an
I'm
asshole.
pushing, but
No,
Well, that's what needs, and that's what,
it needed.
that's, and that's,
And I didn't
that's,
have enough.
that's an element that I think has also been missing from the board, you know, is
Yeah.
putting our feet down
Yeah.
and drawing some lines. So I think it's good, it's effective,
And
and it's gonna move us forward.
Yeah.
So,
Yours is way more fun, truthfully.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get my hate letter from David. So much, man.
hey, how's it going?
Good.